Good morning. It's a little chilly in here, but we'll manage. Welcome. I'm glad you're all here today with us. Our fellowship welcomes each and every one of you. I'm Bill Stroop, your lay leader for today, and thanks for coming today. Our community is built on love, connection, and acceptance for all who enter our space. We hope that today's message will help you on your personal and spiritual journey. We invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy our time together. Our monthly theme for November is faith. Support for and cultivation of the common good is an exercise in faith and goodwill. That goodwill can be a bridge that reaches across much that divides us, and there is much today. Author Winifred Cantwell Smith asserts that faith is an orientation to the self, neighbor, and the universe, a quality of human living. Belief is content. Faith is a process that influences how we live and make life with meaning possible. For Smith, belief is a noun and faith is a verb. Today we welcome our good friend Mark Bernstein, who is a longtime friend of our congregation. He's a former staff member with the Central East region of the UUA and a 30-year member of the UU Church of Delaware County, located in Media. His sermon title today is Spirituality Dissected. Many Unitarian Universalists, particularly younger ones, consider themselves spiritual but not religious. But what does it mean to be spiritual? What is the evidence of spirituality? Mark will visit this issue and offer an interpretation of spirituality that represents a call to action consistent with our Unitarian Universalist principles. And now we'll have our prelude by our wonderful musician, Avi, and he'll be coming up here. Avi?
I don't only make music on that side of the room. I contain multitudes. Good morning, and whether you're with us in this room or on this Zoom, I hope you can share in the community that music also brings. And we start with a message from the band called Fleet Foxes. I was raised up believing I was somehow unique, like a snowflake, distinct among snowflakes, unique in each way you can see. And now after some thinking, I'd say I'd rather be a functioning cog in some great machinery, serving something beyond me. But I don't know what that will be. I'll get back to you someday, soon you will see. What's my name? What's my station? Oh, just tell me what I should do. I don't need to be kind to the armies of night that would do such injustice to you, or bow down and be grateful and say, sure, take all that you see. To the men who move only in dimly lit halls and determine my future for me. And I don't know who to believe. I'll get back to you someday, soon you will see. that everything that I see of the world outside is so inconceivable. Often I barely can speak. Yes, I'm tongue-tied and dizzy, and I can't keep it to myself. What good is it to sing helplessness blues? Why should I wait for anyone else? And I know you will keep me on the shelf. I'll come back to you someday soon myself. And I don't know who to believe. I'll get back to you someday soon. You will see. And I don't know who I will be. I'll get back to you someday soon. You will see.
Thank you so much, Avi, for bringing diversity in our musical experience. So thank you. Our chalice lighting today This is a congregation that gathers in faith. Not faith in one religion or one God or any one way. We gather in faith of the power of diversity, the power of love, and the hope of a world transformed by our care. We gather in faith in ourselves and those around us, not a faith that requires perfection or rightness in one another, rather a faith that in our shared imperfection we may learn to stumble and fall together. Faith that we will help one another to rise and to try again and again. Those are words by Reverend Sunshine Jeremiah Wolf. I'd like now to have Karen Marcus come with a message for all ages. Karen?
I'm often up here as a lay leader, and this is a new role for me, reading the message for all ages, but Aaron couldn't be with us this morning, so I was tapped to stand in. And Aaron selected for us a book entitled Manola and the Unicorn. We're talking a lot about faith today, so I think you'll see something of that message in here. The book is written by Jackie and Jonah Kramer. Unfortunately, I don't do voices quite as well as Aaron, so you'll have to bear with me. To Manola, the world was a magical place. On his way to school, Manola caught lively ladybugs and counted their spots, and he fed dandelions to a curious rabbit and stopped to listen to a chorus of noisy frogs. But he always looked out for the most magical creature of all, a unicorn, wild, graceful, and extraordinary. In a journal stuffed with sketches, scribbles, and samples, Manola took note of any signs of a unicorn. But when he heard the school bell ring, he slipped his magnifying glass in his pocket and raced into class as his teacher made morning announcements. Tomorrow is the Wild Animal Parade. Are we ready to share our favorite animal? Sounds from the wilderness filled the classroom. Roar, hiss, screech, chirp, snort, neigh. I'm going to be a koala. Peacocks are the prettiest. Lions are the strongest. Manola said, I'm going to be a unicorn. Unicorns aren't real. Boys don't like unicorns. But Manola replied, I do. Manola's classmates snickered and ran off. to the jungle gym, leaving him sitting all alone. Now, the world felt ordinary. Maybe they're right, he said, to the lonely ladybugs, the puzzled rabbit, and the chorus of frogs that now sat silently. Maybe unicorns aren't real. Then Manola heard a sharp snap of a twig and the crunch of leaves. A unicorn, Manola whispered. And Manola remembered what he read about unicorns and bowed his head. Then he grabbed the unicorn's mane, and off they galloped into the deep forest. Woohoo! Wherever the unicorn went, the flowers opened wider, the trees stood taller, and the sun shone brighter. Manola learned to gallop swiftly and gracefully with the unicorns. He leapt across lakes and foraged for wild nettle and mint. The unicorns welcomed Manola as one of them. With a quick swish of the unicorn's tail, a shimmery strand as light as air and as strong as iron fell into his hand. And around a crackling fire they feasted on wildflower honey, and the world was magical once again. Manola looked up at the morning star and thought about home. He wanted to share this magic with everyone. As he woke, the bright light of a new day shone, and in his hand he found the gift from the unicorn. He jumped out of bed and quickly began to cut, glue, and sew his costume. His parents asked, "Do you need help, Manola?" "No thanks, I can do this." The day of the wild animal parade, the festive menagerie posed in their costumes. But Manola shook his silky mane. He swished his shimmery tail, and he bowed his head, crowned with a shining horn. "Tell us about unicorns, Manola," his teacher said. Manola's heart raced as he looked out at all the wild things. A unicorn will only reveal itself to those who are pure of heart. Unicorns live in a secret place by a waterfall, and one strand of a unicorn's tail is as strong as iron. Manola's classmates stared in silence, and then slowly one hand stretched into the air. "Are unicorns hard to find?" "Not if you know where to see them." "Does a unicorn have a special power?" "I want to meet a unicorn. Can we go together?" Soon the classroom echoed with chatter and laughter, oohs and ahs. So in a forest of wild animals, led by a unicorn, the flowers opened wider, the trees stood taller, and the sun shone brighter, and so did Manola.
Thank you, Karen. That was very, very good. Thank you. Now we'll have our sing Go Now in Peace as our children go to their class. Now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of all Mark will now present our reading for this morning.
Good morning. With all of the tragedy and chaos going on in the world and here at home, it's comforting to be among friends. It's comforting to be in a place of peace. The reading this morning is from the book, The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment by Eckhart Tolle. A beggar had been sitting by the side of the road for 30 years. One day a stranger walked by. "Spare some change," mumbled the beggar. "I have nothing to give you," said the stranger. Then he asked, "What's that you're sitting on?" "Nothing," replied the beggar, "just an old box. I've been sitting on it for as long as I can remember." "Ever look inside?" asked the stranger. "No," said the beggar. "What's the point? There's nothing in there." "Have a look inside," insisted the stranger. The beggar reluctantly managed to pry open the lid. With astonishment, disbelief, and elation, he saw that the box was filled with gold. I am that stranger who has nothing to give you and who is telling you to look inside. Not inside any box, as in the parable, but somewhere even closer, inside yourself. The words of Eckhart Tolle.
Thank you, Mark. Our shared plate recipient for the month of November is the Valley Youth House and Synergy. It helps younger adults and children who are homeless in Lower Bucks County. The Synergy project is focused on connecting with this population on the streets, providing food, toiletries, and other essentials. We may be getting some bad weather coming up, and these kids need our help. So please be generous. Your generosity is very, very helpful to these young people who are going to need help this winter. So thank you very much.
I have climbed highest mountains, I have run through the fields only to be with you, only to be with you. I have run, I have crawled, I have scaled these city walls, only to be with you. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I believe in the kingdom come, and all the colors bleed into one, bleed into one. Yes, I'm still running, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Yes, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. No, I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Let us welcome Mark with his sermon for today.
Thank you, Avi. I don't know about the rest of you, but I just come here for the music. According to the latest Pew Research survey on religion, over 1/4 of American adults, 27% in fact, see themselves as spiritual but not religious. This group has risen in numbers dramatically over the last decade, particularly among those ages 18 to 49, which I'm included in. While I don't have the statistics, I can take an educated guess that among Unitarian Universalists, that percentage would be a lot higher. We hear that expression a lot now, don't we? I'm spiritual but not religious. It represents a cohort of individuals who are comfortable rejecting the formal trappings of religious doctrine and ritual, but aren't ready to give up the whole mystical, holy, divine nature of religion. So if so many people are emphasizing spirituality, the logical question is, what is it? What does it mean to be spiritual? And that's what I would like to talk to you about this morning. So the first step is to define our terms. Now, when I initially began writing sermons several years ago, my mentor and former beloved minister, Reverend Peter Friedrichs, said that what you don't want to do is open your sermon with a definition from the dictionary. So the first thing I would like to do is open my sermon with a definition from the dictionary. This being the 21st century, I didn't just go to any dictionary. I went to dictionary.com, which bills itself as the most visited, most trusted online dictionary in the world. Their mission, and this is taken directly from their website, is to delight and inspire anyone using the English language by being the most innovative and comprehensive digital source for everything related to words. What a mission statement, huh? They even have a picture on their homepage of the real live people who work for dictionary.com. Take it from me, they're young, they're hip, they won't steer me wrong. So on dictionary.com, I looked up the word spirituality, and here is what I found. The quality or fact of being spiritual. Don't you hate when that happens? So next I looked up the word spiritual, and dictionary.com told me that it is of, pertaining to, or consisting of spirit. I turned back to the picture of my friends at dictionary.com and I said, what are you doing to me? You are the most innovative and comprehensive digital source for everything related to words. You are supposed to delight and inspire me and everyone else using the English language. I am not delighted nor inspired. Undaunted though I persevered, I looked up the word spirit and found this: the incorporeal part of humans. Now, when I got to incorporeal, I realized that I probably needed to start a new spiritual journey in my efforts to find the definition of spirituality. Nevertheless, I decided to try one more time, and I looked up incorporeal and read not corporeal. So Reverend Peter was right. Never start a sermon with a definition from the dictionary. I decided instead to ask Unitarian Universalists for their definition of the word spirituality without using the word incorporeal, and this is a sampling of what I heard. That which gives meaning to my life, a relationship with a higher power, being open to life, awareness of a meaningful connection with the sacred whole, commingling of the self with something greater, and an awareness of the gap between what you can experience and what you can describe. And if I were to ask each of you to give me your definition of spirituality, we would probably get a wide variety of responses as well. When one reflects on this sampling of definitions of spirituality, two things come to the surface. One, there are many different understandings and interpretations of what the word spirituality means. And two, All of these definitions are internally focused. Like the fable I read this morning, they compel one to look inside themselves. They cannot be evidenced by any external means. One cannot see a person being spiritual in the context of these definitions. These are thoughts representative of what I see and hear all the time from Unitarian Universalists, and they are intensely personal, highly abstract, and in no way contribute to the creation or continuation of successful, vital, strong, and growing congregations. Permit me to elaborate. As a member of the adjunct staff of the Central East region of the Unitarian Universalist Association, pardon me for a second, I'm sorry, I'm battling a little cold here, whose portfolio includes the growth of congregations in the many ways in which we define growth, I look at spirituality in a different way. I want to point to something that someone is doing and say, that is evidence of their spirituality. I want to ask, does one's spirituality leave its mark on the congregation, on the world, in fact? My point is this. If we can't define spirituality or even agree on it, if we can't see the evidence of spirituality and contributing to strong, vital, and growing congregations, then what is its usefulness? So in an effort to define spirituality in a way that makes sense to me in the context of contributing to strong, vital, growing, thriving congregations, let's start by looking at what I believe are the components of spirituality, the three elements related to this concept of being a spiritual person. The first is emotions, the second is beliefs, and the third is evidence. Our spiritual side begins with the display of emotions. Those emotions are embodied in our beliefs, and the way in which we conduct ourselves is evidence of our emotions and beliefs. Now stay with me here, okay? First, emotions. Authentic spirituality invokes an emotional response. It is impossible to think of spirituality without including emotion. This can include feelings of awe, wonder, significance, joy, confusion, contentment, sadness, regret. And part of being spiritual is recognizing, being conscious of one's emotions at any given time. It is also important to note that these emotions are positive in the sense that they assist us in better understanding who we are and how we relate to the world. The second element of spirituality is beliefs. How we see the world, what we believe to be true and right in our own conduct and in the conduct of others. By focusing on what we believe, we elicit the positive emotions that I talked about earlier. But the relationship between beliefs and emotions is reciprocal. When we live according to our beliefs, it elicits positive emotions. But these positive emotions, in turn, continue to reinforce our beliefs. Thus, we cannot easily separate what we believe from how we feel about what we believe. Still with me, Gil? For example, I hold the belief that all people have good intentions and that if I can just get past the surface with them, I will see in people things that surprise and delight me. And so believing this, I work hard to get to know people on a deeper level, and I find things that surprise and delight me. When I do, it elicits positive emotions that in turn reinforce my belief that if I can just get past the surface, I will see in people things that delight and surprise me. Oh, Bill, I'm glad you're nodding. We act on our beliefs, they elicit positive emotions, and those positive emotions in turn reinforce those beliefs. So as Unitarian Universalists, what are our beliefs? Well, here's my answer, and I'll give you a hint. It starts with the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and there are 7, or in some congregations, 8 of them. Our core UU principles define and represent our belief system as Unitarian Universalists. It is the closest thing that we have to a creed. So, spirituality, as I have outlined it so far, is living our UU principles or beliefs in a manner that evokes positive emotions and then drawing on those positive emotions to affirm or recommit ourselves to our principles. I experience joy and wonder and exultation and significance through living our principles, and in so doing, I am more committed to living our principles. So we've rather thoroughly, hopefully enough, covered emotions and beliefs as 2 components in the definition of spirituality. The only element then that is missing is evidence. How do I know that I am being spiritual? How do others know? What is the evidence of my spirituality in ways that make a difference in the world? Is spirituality an internal, personal thing, or must spirituality impact in some fashion to change or otherwise affect the life of another? Or to put it another way, if a spiritual person falls in the forest and no one is there to hear them, do they make a sound? Okay, maybe that's not exactly right. How about this? If a person is spiritual and no one is impacted by it, does it matter? Now, I don't want you to get your back up. I know that spirituality includes internal actions like yoga and meditation and Tai Chi and drumming and praying. I know that these are legitimate and important ways to reflect, means to become a more thoughtful, contemplative, and compassionate human being. I get that. But I believe that spirituality needs to be more outward focused. I believe that we live out our spirituality through our relationships with others, through being thoroughly and totally committed to our principles. In an address delivered before the First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the one in Minnesota, at its regular Sunday morning meeting on April 14th, 1929, the minister John Dietrich said, "To be spiritual is simply to be nobly human. It is to be sincere, honest, reverent, high-minded, just, and noble in all our dealings. For the very essence of spirituality is integrity, honesty, sincerity." So where is the evidence of spirituality in this context of connecting with others, of being outwardly focused? It is in our sacred and empathic listening to each other, in our loving expressions of gratitude to one another, in our work as leaders and coffee makers and greeters and teachers, congregational meeting attendees and banner carriers. The evidence of a spiritual life is all around us. It is within these walls, and it is beyond these walls. It is attending to the work of your beloved congregation and our Unitarian Universalist faith. So, taking the 3 elements of spirituality, emotions, beliefs, and evidence, here is my definition of spirituality as it relates to the growth of our congregations. A drum roll is not necessary. Spirituality is a daily devotion to living our principles authentically and intentionally. Doing so evokes the positive emotions that affirm the beliefs we hold, and those emotions in turn reinforce our commitment to living our principles. Permit me to read that one more time, because I worked really hard on this definition. Spirituality is a daily devotion to living our principles authentically and intentionally. Doing so evokes the positive emotions that affirm the beliefs we hold, and those emotions in turn reinforce our commitment to living our principles. Let me be clear. The congregational member who attends Sunday worship 2 or 3 times a month and perhaps takes a yoga class now and then does not meet this definition. In my definition of spirituality, there must be connection with others and the practice of impacting in some way on the lives of fellow congregants or those who live beyond the walls of this congregation. The person who listens with compassion to another's sorrows, who extends themselves to welcome the stranger, who makes and lovingly serves coffee to us after the service, who gets to church early in order to set up the chairs for that Sunday's worship service. These people all are living definitions of spirituality. This is who we are as Unitarian Universalists. Their actions, these demonstrations of spirituality, are the ways in which we create a rising tide, in which we lift all boats, in which we create a congregation that is proud and strong, and whether religious or not, boldly living our Unitarian Universalist faith. May it be so.
I think we will share a collective wow. Mark, that was absolutely wonderful. So, thank you. As an example of our spirituality, we will now have our joys and sorrows. Now we will recognize and lift up one another in love. Please come forward to share your joy or concern. Would you like to do it from there? Wait, hold on. Let me see if we can.
Okay.
You go ahead. I'll hold it. You got it?
Yeah. Some of us, a lot of us, remember Jan Whaling. I don't know whether anybody has been told, but she had a stroke. She's partially paralyzed, and I don't know how she'll be. I don't know whether I'll be able to talk to her because I kept in touch with her all the time. And her daughter called me up to tell me that what had happened. And her voice was such that I couldn't catch what she was saying. That is as far as her phone number is concerned. If anybody knows of any way that I can get in touch with Sandy Whaling, I don't know her wedding name, married name, please help me. That's it. She was a wonderful person, and I hope is still a wonderful person. Thank you.
Yes, we sent out an email regarding Janet and her situation, and unfortunately, she is receiving hospice care at her apartment, palliative care. She also has some other issues in addition to the stroke. So please hold Janet and her family in your thoughts, healing energy, and prayer. There we go. Mr. and Mrs. Griga, would you step forward?
As Bill pointed out, we're Mr. and Mrs. Griga. We're proud to announce that our small family has got a little bit bigger by the birth of our grandson in Seattle, Miles Ballantyne Griga. We're delighted. He's a lovely little guy, and according to Tom, is a real trooper.
Going once. Thank you. Whether or not you shared today, for your joys, we join you in celebration. For your sorrows or concerns, may you feel our deepest sympathy and compassion. Let us now sing Spirit of Life. Please join me in prayer. Find Love, Be Loved by Laura Bernardi. May we find love in this place, love in our hearts, love for the broken down, love for the lonely, love for those yet to feel whole, love for those in between, love for those out of our reach. May we find love, add love, and be love in this world. Amen. That, I think, is beautiful, and we should have it more often in our service. Our closing song today with Avi is hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit.
Please join me in singing. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind. Seeds for the sowing are laid in store. Nurtured in love and conscience refined, with spirit and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
As we extinguish our chalice, let me share these words from Norman Naylor, Reverend Norman Naylor. Reminded that we are part and participants of the universe, let us go forth from the quiet of this hour, encouraged to strive toward faithfulness to the best in ourselves, in others, and in the whole creation. Our service is now concluded. For those of you on Zoom, thank you for joining us today. We hope you can join us again next week. I would like to thank Mark for a wonderful sermon today. Those of you who are here, join us for a coffee and conversation in the cafeteria, where there is a variety of activities, fundraising activities. Nancy has laid out a tremendous amount of her crafts for you to take a look at. Holiday season is coming. You may find a gift or two in there for a loved one. So, go now in peace. Amen, and blessed be. Thank you.